So we're back here. We've got the rat rod back in the Crazy Dad's garage shop today, and we are going to be working on this thing and starting in to get it on the road. I'm close enough to it that we really only have a few things we've got to do here. So I'm going to turn the camera around and we'll launch into that. Okay, so what we're going to do here, I got three big projects on this thing right now. Maybe another one here. We've got to get the wiring done on it. I've got some wires run here and different pieces of it, but I've got to do all the little detail wiring on it, and that's going to be one of the big projects that we got to work on. I've got where did I put it here? I went and got this the other day. This is the fuse box and junction terminal that goes out in the engine compartment from about 1980 to 82-ish Chevy pickup. Kind of like the Crazy Dad square body that I've got outside here. So that, I got that because it's got a bunch of fuses in it, it's got the two flashers, and it's already got a bunch of wiring done, so I just have to mount it and then hook up wires, and that's going to take care of a lot of what we need to do in here. Finding a place for it is actually going to be our biggest challenge. I don't know how good we're going to be able to see in here, but I started wiring with a couple of fuse blocks up in there, and there weren't enough fuses and some different things, so I think I'm going to back that out of there and change what I'm doing with that. And you can see I got wires hanging all over the place here, but we're going to start using those other parts to hook things up. And so the wiring project, that's one of our big projects we've got to do. We've got to, I'm going to change up the steering on this thing. You guys can have a laugh here. So I'm in my process of using what I had around the shop and not spending money. This is an old CB axle shaft that I took out of a car because it was getting worn and starting to clunk, but it doesn't have a lot of play in it, and so I made myself a U-jointed steering shaft out of the thing. I don't know how much of that I'm going to keep because I am going to redo the steering here. So we get out here, I've got this steering box in the thing, and it's mounted there. Got drag link up here and tie rod going down under the radiator. I fabricated all this stuff up out of some stuff that I had, but I've got a problem, and that is that I don't have the clearance underneath here between the bottom of my radiator and the frame to clear this tie rod. And last thing that I want to do is put a hole in my radiator when I go over a bump of some kind. So I'm going to take all of these pieces off, get rid of my tie rod and the steering box, and over there in the corner I have a rack and pinion unit, a manual rack and pinion unit out of an 06 Chevy Cobalt. And I believe that I've got room underneath there to mount that rack and pinion unit, and it'll be just at the right level for these, so I shouldn't have steering angle problems and everything. And then I'll run myself a jointed shaft up here to my steering column. So I'll have to move a few things around here, some of my plumbing and stuff, but I think that's going to work out. So we're going to have to do that. Got some holes in my radiator that I got to get patched and then get my radiator hoses on. I actually have a hole right there that I'll probably end up fixing at some point in time so I can keep the air out of the cab. Let's see, what else is there? Oh, I got to hook myself up a gas pedal. Don't have a gas pedal yet. I've got one that I pulled out of a Chevy of some kind that we'll put in there. I've tried using the factory one and the geometry just doesn't work on it. So we'll get a gas pedal put in it. Let's see, what else? Oh, got to rebuild the brakes. So, got a brand new master cylinder put on it, and all my, yeah, there you can see it, and all my brakes are plumbed, but I need to come in and rebuild the calipers on them because they're not good. I think I've got good pads and shoes everywhere. And then on the back, I got to rebuild the wheel cylinders. And I think then I'll have brakes, get my wiring hooked up, and I think we're going to be able to drive this thing. And that will allow me to go in and do a will it start video on this engine, which I've had in here for this engine's got a history with me. It literally sat in my shop for about 20 years on an engine stand, completely rebuilt, and so was the tranny. I picked these up, well actually I was doing another project for a kid, the son of a friend of mine, and so they took the motor and the tranny in and had them completely rebuilt, and then I fabbed it into this old international truck that they wanted to put in, and then they lost interest in the project. Ended up after a year or so trading me the truck with the motor and tranny in it for a little economy car that I had, and I pulled the engine tranny out and sold the truck to somebody else. So it's literally brand new engine sitting on an engine stand in my shop, has never been started for 20 years. So we're going to do a will it start on it, and part of that will be how to actually bring an old motor back to life that's been sitting that long, because we still have break-in to do with it. We need to make sure we have the right oil in it because I don't want to ruin this thing. So we'll walk you through that process on a video here shortly, and then we'll be moving forward. But we've got this thing just about to the point where I've been wanting to get it for several years now, and I am excited about it because I've got most of the parts to do this with. Literally probably will spend maybe another $100 on the parts that I need to get the brake system fixed and get the thing running, and that's exciting to me. So we're going to be moving in that direction, and that's just an update on where we're going to be at. So I wanted to throw that in here. This will be really the first official video of the Crazy Dad Rat Rod, because the other one was all still photos. So a lot of cool things. Maybe I'll just do some walk around stuff here. So this bed actually is something I built for another project, and when I got the bed shortened and on here, I was looking around for what kind of floor can I put in it, and I had got rid of the other project but kept this bed, and walked out to my shop, and bingo, there it was. A couple of tape measurements. I had to take like 4 inches off of the back of it and make some notches up there at the front corner to make it fit, but cut it down, stained it, finished it, and slipped it in there, and bingo, there she goes. So I got a nice bed in it, and lots of different things like that. There's so many pieces here, I could probably bore you to death with the details here. I had these taillights, or old Chevy taillights from like the 40s, 30s and 40s maybe, and I happen to have that one over there sitting around in my collection of parts, just a random taillight that I picked up somewhere, and I was out walking past an old Chevy truck that I had, and I went, huh, there's another one, and it had a license plate holder on it. So I pulled them off, got a matching set of lights for this thing, and decided that with the way the wiring works, I wanted a separate set of brake lights. So these are actually, I think, off of that same Chevy truck. So I'll put the brake lights there and the tail and turn signals in these Chevy lights so that I'm not complicating my wiring too much there. Got that all put together, and it's just fun, the things that we've been able to put together and make work on this thing. There's so many parts and pieces here that have just been in my parts pile, or any number of different things. Somebody saw the interior today and it's like, wow, you got a nice upholstery job in there. It's like, nope, those seats came out of a Pontiac Sunfire that I bought almost brand new. It had been totaled, and I bought it as a parts car for another Sunfire that I was fixing up, and I'm like, geez, why throw away some really nice seats? So I've been hanging on to them for years, and there they are. Came in here, and my glove box was completely, it had a rusty door on it and no inside, so I built myself an aluminum box to go in it, and then I'm kind of a woodworker, so scrapped up some pieces of wood and built myself a door. As you can see, got some real high-tech door handles there, but the funny thing is they work good, and I've got about 5 or 6 pairs of those little vice grips around, so both of them now have vice grip door handles, and that's the way they're going to stay. I was able to take the original manual transmission shifter, you're not going to be able to see it very good, out of the truck that I got the cab from, so I cut it off and fabbed up a automatic transmission shifter down in there. So it's got a really cool shifter that way. The brake pedal assembly came out of a old Ford truck that I had. Matches the front and rear axle on the master cylinder. There's my gauges. I was able to put new gauges in there out of a newer Ford truck. And if you'll notice, funny detail, these are actually upside down, the 2 bottom ones, because that's the way that they work and fit in the truck. But anyway, the guts of them were all the same as the original gauges that came in this 46 cab. So we just had a lot of fun little details like that. The radiator came out of a 75 Dodge 1-ton. And for some reason I ended up with engine, transmission, and radiator. Engine, transmission got seized up, so they went to the scrap yard, but the radiator I think's okay. So we got it put in there. Lots of fabrication went into building the front suspension on this thing. And we've been able to make it to where it's functional and going to work out really good. The front axle was actually built from a lowering kit for a 73 Ford pickup that I had. So they had the twin I-beams, so I had these dropped sections on the end, and I cut the I-beam off right there and put myself in a section of square tubing. And so that's how I came up with that. That allowed me to just bolt stock pickup front brakes on this thing. So it's not going to have racing brakes on it, but it's going to have big brakes for what we had to work with here. Then the rear axle for the thing was a matching 9-inch Ford out of a similar year of pickup. So I've got it in there with, again, it'll have big pickup brakes on the back of it. So yeah, we're not looking at Brembos or Willwoods or something like that, but you know what? I'm not going to be racing this thing. I just want it to stop when I'm using it in the way everyday thing driving works. And so it's going to work out really good. We were able to, when I got this cab to use here, because my original one didn't have any doors, I was able to get in here and take the mechanisms apart for the windows and for the door latches and just clean them up, de-rust them, and grease them. And now we've got windows that work, even though they're nice and spiderwebbed with cracks. I'm going to be driving this thing with the windows down 99% of the time, so all I care is it keeps the bulk of the rain out of it. But they work, which is a lot more than can be said for a lot of these old trucks. So I've got that done. Yeah, what else here? That's the original steering wheel and column and mount down to here. And then I've cut it off and fabbed up my own stuff for that, which will probably change somewhat in the process. My switches and stuff on the dash came out of another old Ford pickup, probably the same one that I've gotten a lot of these Ford parts out of. So anyway, it's just coming together. A lot of pieces and parts that have fallen into place here and worked out really great. Set of wheels and tires, again, came on another Ford pickup that I picked up. And yeah, anyway, I guess the headlights are actually the original pieces of this that I've had forever. I found them in a chicken coop nearly 30 years ago, and just been hanging on to them because they were kind of cool looking, and got to putting things together, and I'm like, ha, they'll work. So got them mounted up there, and ta-da, there she goes. Yeah, I don't know if we want to. Yeah, I'll open the hood here and kind of show you what we've got underneath. We've got all the latch mechanism to work. Built a place for it to latch onto right there. I actually ended up building my own grill here because I didn't like any of the optional grills that I had. But there's my underhood with my Ford pickup master cylinder, and found an old Uga horn that was on some old truck that I'd had. My radiator overflow over there. Yeah, so anyway, that's kind of where we're at here and what we've got to work with. It's always been fun just to see how much of this thing has just fallen together. This hood, when I got it on there, got that radiator up under there, it's got literally like a 1/4 of an inch of clearance between the inside of the hood and the radiator on both sides. That thing just fit in there perfect. Shock absorbers are off a 60 Volkswagen bus. That was what fit and was short and had the travel that we needed. The rear shocks came off of a Ford pickup, so I just fabbed them in there to fit. You can see here where we've shortened the bed. We took a whole bunch of length out of the front and a little bit out of the back. This pickup bed must have come from California somewhere, because right here you can see an H and a D. Well, that's the beginning and the end of the word Highland that was on there, and this said at Valencia, so I'm pretty sure that was a California sourced thing of some kind. And I just thought it'd be cool to keep that on there as part of the patina once we got the bed shortened. So those are some of the cool features of this thing. The roof was caved in pretty bad. We've beat it back out. Haven't gotten serious at all on straightening it completely, and kind of the same thing with the hood. The hood's going to need a lot of work. I'm actually going to come up here and weld the two halves together as I straighten them up, because I think that'll give me a lot more stiffness than what I've got now. Our cowl vent works, which a lot of guys used to fill those, but in this truck we've got no AC, and I don't want any AC, and I want that cowl vent to be able to work so that we can get some airflow through the thing, because it's mostly going to be a summer vehicle, spring, summer, fall. I'm sure I'm not going to be driving it much in the wintertime, but that'll help cool things off a little bit as we're out playing with it. So there you go. That's kind of the workings of the Crazy Dad Rat Rod, and thought we'd run this video through as we start the process of going through and finishing the build on it so we can get her on the road. So there you go. Thanks for watching. I hope you like and subscribe to the video, and share any comments that you have, and follow along. We appreciate everybody that's been watching the channel. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.